Hello guys, in this video I will discuss how to create first ASP.NET Web API. So for this we have to download .NET SDK and Visual Studio. So let's to download, open this browse and search Visual Studio download, and from this website we download this community version. This is a free version. So download Visual Studio 2022, its community version. Okay, and next download .NET SDK download from this website, Microsoft.NET this website, and download this long-term support .NET 8. Okay, so after downloading, when we install this Visual Studio, we have to select the workload ASP.NET and web development. Okay, so after installing, open this Visual Studio Code, and from this get started. From this create a new project, and here create a new project, and this lot of templates are available, and from this template we select here C# language and all platform. Okay, and we have to create web API, so I select ASP.NET Core Web App API. Okay, so I select here ASP.NET Core Web API, and then next, and give the name of the project is first web API. Okay, and then next, and then create. So our project is created first web API. So this is our project structure. Program.cs is an entry point, and app setting.json, here we use the setting for database connections, and from this controller we create controller. We add controller for creating API endpoints. We first create this first web API, then by default this controller is created. So when we run this project, then when we run this our project, then this run on localhost 7044 this port, and our this there is swagger is open here, and from this swagger we test our API. So this is a for API testing, this swagger is used in ASP.NET. We can enable use swagger in our program. So for this we can test our APIs from this swagger. Instead of using this swagger API testing tools, we can also use third party API tools like Postman. Okay, so this swagger is used for API documentations. Okay, so here I create a first API endpoints. So I click on controller for creating first web API. Right click on controller and add controller, and here select API. We have to create API controller. So select first one. We can also select this from anyone, but we have to from beginner level, from beginning we have to start from beginning. So I click on API controller empty. Okay, and then add, and give the name of the controller is here. So I use here our controller is student. Okay, and then next, and here our controller is created here. So in controller, our student controller extend this controller base, and our this student controller acts as a API controller. For this we define here API controller. So our student controller acts as a API controller, and our root is URL is API and controller. This controller name is our this controller student is automatically load here controller. So for this I use this URL API slash controller. Okay, so for creating first API endpoints, so I create here method, So our method is public and simply firstly I return a string. Our method is return string and use the name show, and here return some string like hello world. So this method returns hello world string. Okay, so how to map this method to HTTP post get request? So using HTTP get request, I map this method to this get request. Okay, so I save this and run this application. Okay, so our student controller name is load here automatically, and our URL is API/student. So here try it out and execute this API, and here this is our request URL. This is a port where our API is. So this is a URL HTTP localhost 7044 API student. Okay, this is a URL, and in response hello world is display here. Okay, so this is a get request and this is our API get API. So I copy here and paste without Swagger. Without using Swagger UI, we can also run from here. Hello world, it return hello world. Okay, so for testing we use Swagger UI here. So this our method returns string. Also we have to return object. So I give here return type is action result. Is return type is used here because this method returns a different HTTP status code and also object. Okay, so here I return object. So I declare here one object student is equal to, I create a new student ID is equal to 101 and name is equal to Prithvi. Okay, so I create here one object student and I return with status code okay and our student object. So action result is a return type to return object multiple response such as HTTP status code and object. Okay, so I save this and run this application. So here here we can test our get request get API. So try it and execute this API. So it return student object and response okay. Okay, so also I send a dynamic input to this API from URL. So I send our name here. I send name of student from URL. So I give here string name and pass this name here. Name of the student. So I save this and run this application. So here get API is execute from here. API student is our API student, and in here we have to pass here name. So try it out and give the name Pooja and hit this API, and here I give the response. In response our student information ID and name and status code is okay. So in this way I create here first get API here using HTTP get method, and we also discuss the return type of this API string. Also I used action result for giving multiple response like HTTP status code and also object. Also we can also give response error. Okay, so in next video I will discuss on CRUD operation, CRUD API and also database connection.